So early access is here. The announcement's been made. It was the most played FPS from the Steam Next Fest, even. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today, because this right here is a list of what Tribes is right now, or at least Tribes 3 is right now. Also not going to be talking about the patch notes, where jetting finally is better than Pharah from Overwatch. We need to talk about the self-fulfilling prophecy here. And that's a pun I've been waiting to use for a while now, because listen, this video is not going to be all that well scripted. This is a collection of thoughts I've had to suppress for quite some time. And first, I want to make some things clear. I have no ill will towards the developers, the people they are, or their abilities. They've been given an impossible task, and the more we see, the more impossible it did seem. I also want to make clear that in these videos so far on this channel, and thank you all for watching and, bringing it to the subscriber count that it is in this tiny little niche franchise, I've been constructive, I think. I've been critical, yes, but obviously we are not a young community. We are a community of, well, middle-aged men. Most of us, not me, but some of you are in the industry itself. And really, the most important thing is that we've been through this before. Most of us came along with Tribes Ascend, and there are others, of course, that came from longer before. We've done this before. We've done this before. And again and again. When we talk about feedback and we talk about development, it is strange that the opinions and, most importantly, facts presented by veterans in more ways than one are relegated alongside the impulse remarks of new players. And you might think that that is an elitist remark. At first, yes, but if the inception of the game was to build an esport, which, by the way, the veteran crowd was largely against. We wanted a game that could be played competitively, but we immediately understood the one flaw that Ascent also went through: new player onboarding. And that, time and time again, by developers of Prophecy, has been stated as the core principle of this development, to bring people into Tribes. And Tribes 3 is Tribes. It has jetpacks, it has skiing, it has maps in some fashion, it has flags. So all of these promises and these talks we've had and these aspirations, all of this feedback that we've had and that we've built have all been focused on a singular thing: to revive this franchise and to see how far this development can go. But of course, perhaps our own professionalism, our own memories of lost opportunity have kept us, and I speak of content creators, of streamers, in this very tiny little community. We do understand the ways of game design and game development, and especially me, I give feedback in these videos to go and coincide with the intended path of the game itself. This is, of course, quite difficult because we've asked for months now for any indication of what is being worked on. And this is not prying into the machinations of game design. No. We're talking about baseline communication. We're talking about whether or not feedback has been received. Because for a long time now, it's been claimed, and I do believe, that all the feedback is read. All the feedback. And again, I don't want to step on any triggers of elitism here, but you're not going to go to the kids who play on the schoolyard whether or not basketball should have 2 balls or not. Maybe you use the expertise of professional players, and yes, in the case of tribes, this is laughable, but we do have people who are veterans, who have been playing for a very long time, and you can perhaps not listen to these people when it comes to the minutiae of balance, because a competitive player is always going to bring forth the things that give him an advantage, because it is his prerogative to win the game. But do we really, as adults, as men of a certain age, and maybe even women, if we give feedback and it gets twisted beyond recognition multiple times, misinterpreted and twisted in some way that is incomprehensible, does everything have to be black and white? Does everything have to be 0 and 1? Does everything have to be a binary choice? And does it have to be twisted? Giving feedback becomes dangerous. And even then, for those of you who think that the elitists rule all and we have a secret cabal of tribal veterans, bollocks. There are people who have been in this community for years and did not leave. There are people, not me, I left. And quite of a hissy fit, in fact, because I was the last standard bearer of Erez before I burned every single bridge imaginable. And guess what we're doing today? Even from the core competitive groups, even from, let's name them, the little streams that are being done for feedback, that is, by the way, going through feedback of people, which I'm so annoyed by because they barely mention maps. Fish sticks and APC, hot rods, all the people, fire, all those people who are engaged. Barely any of their feedback makes it through. How long have we been dragging on about flag drag, hey? What we were afraid of, what we said at the very beginning. Because again, guys, we're sorry, but we're putting on a face. I am, at least. I'm working on my own stuff. I was working on maps and designing them for other projects for 2 years now. And then this comes along. And suddenly we are the noobs. We don't know anything about game design. You tribals. You realize you've been ridiculed from the beginnings. We know you pivoted off of Dead Zone. And you have to have something. Raiders didn't work out for whatever reason, because I think you had a better shot at making Space Tarkov. But no, you decided to go to us. You decided to pull the pin on tribes. And I'm going to quote Olimpino, who said to me just a few minutes ago, "It is unfortunate for us that they didn't understand the value of this community." And I think that's a beautiful sentence, because unless you are somehow mentally deficient, you have one of the most dedicated fan bases in history, one of the first competitive communities, as niche as they might be. You have people in game design, you have AAA developers right now in the industry offering help. And we knew this was going to happen because this is the MO. This is the MO of Erez. You create the equivalent of a cardboard box. None of these games have any soul. They are literally minute of scope and feeling. They are devoid of lore and emotion. They are the dollar store plastic replica of a once beloved toy. The one we have at home. There is a reduction every single time. Tribes Ascend was already a reduction. Why? To pursue esports, to pursue competitiveness, to make a tiny compact thing that can become popular. Tribes 3 is yet a reduction from that. And Tribes Ascend was an unfinished game. Because of your own failures. Monetization? Is that the one? The money, right? Yeah, because that's your defining characteristic, isn't it? Mr. Erez, you are not a game designer. You are a person with money that people will listen to. You cannot design a game like this in a boardroom meeting with bullet points on a PowerPoint. That is not what this is. Is it difficult? Of course. However, you have literal blueprints of everything this game needs to be. And it's been repeated every week for this entire cycle. Your movement problems? Again, I do not blame the developers because they probably had to build it off of a skeleton from Dead Zone. And you can't not throw away this code because, hey, it's sunk cost fallacy all over again. You have blueprints, you have community-made games, recently even, but you also have a complete dissemination of the physics and the friction and everything, collisions of this game, really available that people have. You have developers who have actually made their own Tribes projects who were willing to say, hey, we will write the fucking code for you because we know this is difficult. Jay Price made a prototype shoot-'em-up Tribes game using my maps, by the way. You can use them. I remade DX and I made it fucking mirrored. You can test it right now. He made that code in several hours and his skiing is better. We have month by month, we have still changes on the basic physics. And every time we said, hey, buddy, this is looking better. This is looking good. This is looking more like Tribes. And we meant it. But it's like leading a toddler to kick his first ball or to throw his first, I don't know, baseball or whatever kind of sport you want to use as an analogy. It doesn't matter, right? Because every single week there is a lapse in memory. Every time we make feedback, it's like, all right, wipe it, it's archived, and now we say the same thing again. There is a definition of insanity going here, and yet we still do it because we know that this game can work right now, because that is truth. I have not lied. I have admitted. I've admitted my disdain for this entire production. It is not that it can be done. It cannot be done by you, because you have no insight in what makes this game work. All the issues that surface, all the rage that has come through, not from us, because we want this fucking thing to work. Right. All of this coalesces in a misunderstanding. The Capper video I made, obviously, again, guys, people watching this is an open letter. I don't expect a response. But I need to say this because I almost said this a while ago. And I calmed down significantly since then. I know. Incredible. So I'm not going to talk about the maps or the fact that, again, we have Rain Dance. Everybody loves Rain Dance. But you're not advancing the development because you're making a cardboard box cutout. You're making a sketch and then blame the community for expecting a full painting. Because this is one of those things that I really... You blame us for being toxic, for throwing our toys out of the pram, but no, we've been holding back. A lot of the people who are speaking out have left, and they won't be back. They've seen this again with Tribes Ascend, which... monetization, really. It failed because every single balance patch or every new release ruined the balance of the game, forcing people to indeed buy the game, and buy by the packs because everything was overpowered, every single one. And then eventually it got balanced again, but then, oops, yeah, no, sorry, time's up. We're in maintenance. Yeah, we can't do anything about that anymore because we've made an arbitrary decision not to fix it. On the eve of Twitch, on the eve of streaming, you decided to back out. Roadmap. Let's talk about this. Let's use some quotes here. You know, the roadmap is the game you see right now. This is a response to something said in January 25th, because we were promised a roadmap, we were promised a Q&A. But I learned never to make a promise to a Tribes player. No, because you're lying. You are a business manager. You are someone who wants the lowest bidder to create something, and then you still want to take something away. You cannot make a game, finish 1/3 of it, promise 4/3 of it, and then not expect people to be upset. It's just business. Why are these people angry? Are losing money. We're using money to develop a game. The roadmap is the game you see right now. We don't promise anything else besides normal patches that can be expected. Next. The roadmap is simple. It's what you see now with more maps and probably more weapons. 16 versus 16 and 77 ranked with custom matches. If you expect anything else, you should just wait out. I've heard this. I've been told this by people at Erez. If you stick with us, that meant going to Smite, by the way. There is currently no plans for any larger team sizes, any vehicles, and mods. Take it or leave it, but that's all we can promise. Well, that's weird, because the very first thing when the closed alpha was going, so basically a few people of the Tribes community were invited, that was one of the first things you said were going to be part of it. When, you know, it was clear that there was no roadmap and you were just doing things by ear, whatever was shouted loudest that 1 week, which, by the way, is no fault by the Tribes community, because this is exactly what happened with Tribes Ascent. You made an alpha, then a beta. Everybody shat themselves when Hitscanner was in the game. Oh, I guess the Tribals don't want Hitscan. Guess we'll have to remove it. Guess we'll have to balance it. Oh, well, yeah, now we don't have time for anything else. Motherfucker, you are the game designer. Or you're not, but you employ them, at least. Have a plan. What is your plan? We will make an esport. We will have no casual modes to revive a game that's been dead for the decades, or at least, well, more than a decade, really. It is simply going to happen. Well, Tribes Ascend had a spectator mode, but we're not seeing that one anywhere. You expect us to have, well, kudos to APC and everyone who helped build that first draft tournament for 25 years of Tribes, which is the only franchise you possess right now, Mr. Prophecy, sir. Let's ignore Erez. 25 years. And we got a community tournament without spectating mode, which was incredible, by the way. It was a great event. And by the way, I'm not going away. I want to be here for that. I want to cast the game because I'm here for the community. I am here for the Tribals. I'm here for the people who want to play this game, learn this game, and perhaps move over to a game that actually isn't half finished. Because no, early access is release. You're asking for money. You are going to be evaluated, sir. And people are going to love it because it's Tribes. Those of us who are so inclined will love this kind of game. And then it will go away again. Because you have no new player onboarding. You have a tutorial, well done. Where is the capping route thing? Where is anything? What is the early access going to release with? what is in the game right now? Okay, I guess that's clear. There are no systems. New player experience? Well, fuck that. You realize that your mid-airing problem, for instance, is still a thing. People in between new and intermediate, there is no path for these people unless they are already competitively minded or have played first-person shooters of this kind before. And there is no path for them to take to not get just completely obliterated in midair because you have raised the skill floor. The skill ceiling is still the same because that it comes from positioning. Those kind of problems we've been talking about for months. There's not even a dialogue here. There is no dialogue. There's just your interpretation, what twisted it might be of what we say. So that was a lie. No mods. All right, we already knew this was going to be the case. That's the thing. You think we're the morons here. No, we've basically been leading you on. We no limitations, but wow, that we didn't even get to the point of Tribes Ascend before you bailed. All right, cool. If I was a new player and look at the feedback for the game, because this is after he shut down the feedback posts, they were suddenly gone and archived. I would not even try it, given how every other thread is map design is terrible for fast play, latest map design was far the worst, bots and how bad they are, anti-cheats and how bad it is to have. So capping is not viable. Dear God, you really don't get it, do you? Jetless air control is the ruining game. Yeah, guess what? The three core pillars of a game is skiing, jets, and the weapons. And one of them didn't work. Come on. The testing the capper detonation. Yeah. Because it's stupid. It is stupid. It is... Why? It is creating a problem because all of the above. Maps are too small. Yes. Because you are creating a cardboard box. Actually, no. You're not creating a cardboard box. I know what you're making. You're making bathtubs. So at this point, I need to wonder if there is actually malice here. Because really, some of these decisions are baffling, and they are not just because of extenuating circumstances from the fact that Prophecy needs to release a game soon. Because some of the decisions simply don't make sense. I find it incredible that the narrative has been created that us, the tribals, one of the more motivated and passionate free labor communities in existence that have been leading you all the way, realizing that this would be the outcome, by the way, because let's face it, people don't change. This is almost comically the same path as what has been taken with Tribes Ascend. You set a low bar and you go below it. You cut your costs. This is the thing. Yes, game design is expensive. However, you started cutting costs, or at least started talking about, oh, woe is me, this is costing me money. You've been doing this since the very beginning. One of the first things you said was, hey, I'm going to lose money on this game. Okay, wow, thanks. Malice. Self-fulfilling prophecy. That's the joke, right? It has to be. Because every step of the way, we've taken the minimum. Every time we've taken things below minimum viable. The skiing, the maps. The maps are incomprehensible because you went to the drawing boards and I guess forced map designers that had never played Tribes before to create a Tribes map and then base your, as you ought to be believed, taken that and balanced the game around that misinterpretation when we already had better maps, community made maps, and even the ones that are 25 years old. If you start from Dangerous Crossing, Rain Dance, and Stonehenge, then you automatically create tribes, because that's where these maps were. Well, these maps weren't designed for tribes movement, but it created it. So you go back to your interpretation of Tribes Ascend, which Tribes Ascend was so bad in the map department that it caused me, a gentle soul as I am, to actually go into map design and create better maps, because I knew those were a core problem of the game. But we've taken that standard and then lowered it into bathtubs. All on the premise that we have an esport, we have to have it small. We want Rocket League, right? But Rocket League is a simple game. It has no depth whatsoever. It is simple and manageable. It is just cars driving around with a ball. How hard can it be? About that. So, weird. It didn't work out. Because you take something that needs certain pillars to exist and then cut them down. Then you reintroduce Dangerous Crossing, now Rain Dance. You might have finally, well, again, I made those mapping videos in good faith. But what I got from them is, again, you didn't take my knowledge, you interpreted it. What I was saying was, for large part, factual, and then gave you examples and facts about that. What happens is we have baseline terrain, and kudos to the map designers, because Torment and Tartarus Hollow are not bad. But we're already in early access, so it doesn't really matter. Those are viable maps. Viable! Good, bad, we don't know yet. Viable terrain. But every time, we're just skirting along the edge of... Was Tribes Ascend a target? Was everything you had from Ascend? Because I know it was, until the end, still making money. Is that the target? Is minimum viable just below Tribes? Because that worked then. You're trying to create an esport, again, with no way of a casual audience forming, really, because most of the people are already on board. And then, every step of the way, from a closed test that is 2 to 3 days a week, with no advertisement other than one of the most horrendous IGN promotions in the history of gaming, probably. Emperor Chad rules forever. A little bit of streamer interest, some of which promoted by you. Go Carnage playing a little bit, which is outside of his wheelhouse, isn't the kind of game he plays. Those metrics are your Bible, they are your gospel. Your retention. Every pick. It's like me watching my YouTube results, right? I have 500 and plus subs now. Every time I post a video, oh, I'm refreshing. Oh, 5 more views. Yes. Oh, we're almost there, baby. That's exactly what you're doing. You actually had good response on the Steam Fest with 0 marketing! Compared to, and you're going to compare yourself probably to Stormgate or something that had a massively successful fucking Kickstarter and had actual, Blizzard devs that worked on StarCraft 2 and stuff. You have some devs that work on TA. Guys, I'm sorry. I really am. So, against all odds, this fucking game wants to live. There's still people like me who really want to see it succeed, but you're not even giving us that, because every step of the way, it is about these nonsensical metrics. It's $1 per player in the map, so we have to charge $64 for a 32 game. Dude, nobody gives a fuck. Make a fucking game. There are people, solo developers, who are further along than you in months. And you ban people who mention that, by the way, because that's another thing in the Discord, because I'm probably going to be gone. Sayonara, everyone. Jetpack Battle is on Steam right now. You can download the test. He can actually import T1 fucking files and shit. It's incredible. He's a gifted man. And a lot of those kind of people wanted to help you out. We could have fixed those physics, but everything needs to be proprietary because you're a AAA developer. You're not an indie dev. No, everything has to be to AAA standard, but that's too low now. It has to be quadruple A. Everything has to be to that standard, even though it is a cardboard box that even a sponge and a starfish would have trouble imagining beautiful things in. We had to drift away from it due to what the community wanted. When we had smaller 5v5 and 7v with much slower movement and bigger projectiles, the new player retention was actually much higher. What are the metrics? What are the player numbers? How did they stumble upon our game? Our game. Because it's been the community's game longer than it has been yours, because you've been away for quite a long time. And even the community managed to make TA better over a couple of years. Drift away due to what the community wanted. Yeah. If you only focus on the negatives, if you put every single voice on the same pedestal, if you evaluate them at the same value, you are certifiably insane. And this is not about elitism, because guess what? The casuals are right. TA wasn't tribes. It was, we made it work, because guess what? Some of us were trying to pursue a career. We made it work. We dragged that kicking and screaming to make it function as long as it did, despite the developer. And guess what? Here we are again, because you don't want this game to succeed. You want it to fail, and then go neener to the tribes player, like, oh, looks like the toxic tribes players killed another game. The toxic tribes players want fucking tribes. They want large-scale terrain, large-scale maps, large-scale scope, not path hubs. Why? Because that's where the soul of the fucking game is. And then you check the box. You give us observation posts. Look, and I'm probably responsible for that because I wanted to engage people outside of CTF. Let's look at the next one. Which is why I'm making Honor Ball into a new game that I can have that I can have a really fun time with, making it very interesting. Motherfucker, nobody had a problem with Honor Ball. We memed about it, yes, because suddenly all eyes were on Honor Ball in the middle of early access when CTF was still broken as shit. And yes, different developers work on different things. Hi, yes, not a moron here, by the way. You decided this on the whims of a poll with 3 options. And then 2 options. Guess the community has spoken. At what point? If you blame us for everything, if you refer to the tribe's audience as little children, toxic assholes, and then you put it in our lap and blame us, time to take the toy away because you didn't play right with it. I'm sorry. Honor Ball was great. It was a great onboarding thing. It taught people to throw things, have a singular focus, smaller maps, little arena plays. Perfect. Who the fuck? Again, If we are the competitive elitists, if Fishsticks and APC and Hot Rod are these divine beings that direct the very flow of tribes, Jim Christ wanted to make an honorable tournament. We were memeing about it, but yeah, there was actually some merit to it. Because we are adults who, know to take a joke. Is that your problem? Are you capable of having an original thought? Because none of the Erez catalog points to that. Is it always, does it need to exist? Do you have object permanence? Is that your problem playing tribes? Because when the flag goes behind the hill, that's why. I understand now. Wave Mist has to be flat, because if you see a flag move past a mountain, it stops existing. You have to prove that the flag was there. You have to prove the flag existed there. Otherwise, there won't be any flags anymore. They'll all be honor balls. And then we're going to make a different game out of it, because that's what we do, right? We make tiny little shitty games, and if by some magic it becomes successful, then we were right all along. Right? Because Steam will push the game when it comes out. We have about 70k wish lists, despite you. And then we will do various promotions with them, and probably Epic as well. If we get enough players, we can do the same on consoles. Games are very hard to market these days unless you own the platform. So there will be no marketing. Maybe for the best. If only we had some kind of spectator mode that we could use to, cast tournaments and build our own streamer base, because I think that's how esports work. I'm not quite sure. That will depend if we get a return on the marketing. As it stands, marketing outside of working with Steam is a huge money loss unless the game goes viral. That's where I got that from. So you're waiting for a Hail Mary on a game that is broken and unfinished, that doesn't have a spectator mode or any sort of way for us to organize events, and where we still haven't even tested ranked mode, which probably will happen either next week or whatever. And by the way, a ranked mode where the meta is going to be 7v7, where we've already had to ban things because of balance issues, which haven't been addressed in 3 patches now. Which, by the way, oh yes, but game design is difficult and we have to focus on, so fuck off. We've made very specific suggestions, we, the community. I stay away from competitive balance for the most part because I don't play it at a high level. You have the literal top of the world of the game you're trying to build an esport for, giving you very specific fucking feedback, and you throw it in the bin going like, yes, well, but those are opinions. No, they are analyses from literally the top of the world in your tiny little game. Yes, these are tiny little games. This is very much, but these people have figured it out over the past 20 years. Perhaps listen to them and not interpret on the basis of, and again, the developers are not high-end tribes players. The high-end tribes players take your toys and smash them. And they say, listen, we love to play with this toy, but we rip it apart by sheer strength. So maybe make it out of metal instead of cheap plastic. That is what's happening here. There will be no significant changes to movement or shooting at this point. Which, again, last patch did have massive changes. The bots, I don't care about the bots. The people raging about the bots. Again, like, if you give the same merits to every single person posting a feedback thread, you are certifiable. Okay? Again, children playing in the playgrounds do not decide FIFA's rules of engagement. The kids say, I want 2 balls because I don't get to hit the ball often, and I want to grab the ball with my hands because, of course, this is a caricature. I'm not saying that every new player is a freaking child. I only wished, because then that would mean we have new blood, actual new blood here. Most of the people playing right now are not 14 or 15 years old. Because you're not going to get those, because you have no creature comforts. You have nothing in this game outside of a cardboard box that says tribes on the side. And we love those cardboard boxes because we used to play with cardboard boxes because we are of that generation. If the game fails, it's going to be because it was too hard for new players. By far the biggest reason TA did not make it. I agree. I completely agree. Whoops, guess it failed. We've been saying, we haven't had a New Bloods. I couldn't join the New Bloods event because I've been working. Also why I haven't been streaming and doing those things, because I've been busy, and I really love to have a EU New Bloods because I used to do those. I'm the guy who used to teach people. If you can do, if you cannot teach. If you cannot teach, commentate. But still, that, yeah. What did we say? The very inception of this entire thing. New player, new player, new players, new players, new players. Make it easy for new players. Except you've been making it harder for new players. Because the things you think were improving things for new players have been making it more difficult. Because if you have a chemical equation, it is sometimes quite dangerous to only do half of it. If you've created nitroglycerin, but you don't have the clay to absorb it to make TNT, simplifying a little here for brevity's sake, then you will blow your face off. You can't blame people throwing the nitroglycerin that they suddenly conflagrate because, well, it was supposed to be TNT and quite stable, or C4 or whatever you want. Yes, but you didn't do that. Look, I tried. Yes, but you didn't finish. No points. And the community wonders why it's hard to put out the tribes game and what idiots would actually try to make one. Every single step of the way, it's been our fault. We have been put on anxiety the entire way through because we don't know where this train was going to stop. Every single time, like, hey, you're trying, hey, all right, cool, but could we maybe get, yeah? Every step of the way. There are passionate people here, yes? But motherfucker, what did you expect? This is, if they didn't give a fuck, well, less and less people are giving a fuck. You wouldn't get those responses. And maybe you should have tried making a game instead of a cardboard box. Maybe you should have gone the length. Make a game. You have the funds. You might not have it allocated. Again, I suspect some malice here because I think you were set up to fail. If you would have gone through with Dead Zone, which, you know, inexplicably you shut down for a month after a hissy fit, I assume. Raiders against Space Tarkov, I would have fucking played that. You know, the cycle is gone. There's a niche there. And then tribes being, you know, the try-hard competitive thing. But then you have a pathological need to reduce the scope of something. Everything needs to be, again, like, I don't think you have object permanence. I don't think if there was a hill to cross, you would feel lost because you have to see the edge of the map at any time. Are you agoraphobic, perhaps? Because there's the same problem with TA. Like, make the fucking game. You've never made the fucking game. So why stop every single time? It is incomprehensible. And again, indie developers have gotten further than you. Farther than you. And they were alone. And not bragging about having 40 people working for you. You realize that wasn't a brag, right? Oh, it's costing me so much money. Oh, God, there's so many people working for me. Well, motherfucker, what the hell are they doing? Hours for proper jetting. Not months. And again, no fault of the designers or the developers, because why does it take hours? Because we have sources and we have people who actually have done this before, that are AAA developers that have done this before. We would have helped. I'm not even going to respond to these. Who do you listen to? You choose to listen to terrible opinions and not to the ones that are well formed and based in fact, or at least in experience. It wasn't. This was last time. I complimented the terrain. I did not compliment the map design, but the terrain. And that is a black or white, a 1 or a 0 response, isn't it? A map cannot be both good and bad at the same time. That's impossible. Give it to me straight. Good or not. Shit or bad or good. Shit or good. Get out of my face unless you can pinpoint exactly one thing. You have 5 seconds. You use 3 words or less to describe what the problem is. Get fucked, noob. All of this has been discussed for months, and every single time we have to start over. I learned never to make a promise to a tribes player. Yeah, because we'll fucking call you out on it, because we don't give a fuck. I'm not in the industry, so I can do this. I care about the game. I'm gonna be playing the game. I'll help the community. Despite the developer. And I didn't want to make this video. I made an Asmongold video, everyone. It's happened. I've had fun. I've really enjoyed playing the game, but there's always been that hook that, you know, how long is this going to last? And again, if you think I'm being overly dramatic, like if you say like, oh, well, but you know, if the game's successful, fuck off. Honestly, fuck off. That's not the point here. The point is, again, the self-fulfilling prophecy. We've done this before. It could have been so much easier. This game has the potential, at least this formula, has a potential to be one of the greatest esports ever made. Tribes Ascend, despite all those flaws, was nearly there. And this game, despite all of its flaws, and despite being less even than Tribes Ascend, it gets 70,000 wish lists. It excites people. It is an incredible game. But that is what makes us the problem, isn't it? Because the cardboard box is real fun. But we realize what is possible if there would be an iota of understanding, and that we wouldn't be totally lambasted by data, retention, expenditure. Yeah, you do not exude any sort of hope if you simply keep repeating those things. You immediately put people on the defensive, and those that are left, because you immediately lose so many invested people by acting like this. And those that are still left, that are damned to play this game in any iteration because we know what it can be. Those people, you manage to do this to them. So, that was candid, I think. So, I would like you to take responsibility. It's a weird thing to say, isn't it? But that we can come to an understanding. All of this can be avoided by serious communication, by actually allowing us to assist you in the dev. All these things could work, but that's not going to happen because, let's face it, the decisions were already made, and there is no way to revert those decisions, right? Not like we've gone from 5v5 tiny Rocket League to completely unprepared expanding it, because who could have imagined, right, a demand for larger for larger maps, and who could have imagined larger team sizes in a Tribes game? And it's, why would we ever ask that? It is clearly our mistake, our fault. And you are really a martyr for creating this game, for going on to this, knowing that it would fail. I salute you, sir. Early access is available at March 12th. Right now. Okay, get the wish list going, join the Discord. Most importantly, remember, this is a community-focused development. The game is crafted with input from the Tribes community, ensuring an experience that honors a series' legacy while introducing fresh elements to keep gameplay exciting and engaging. This has been Greth. See you in the next video.